Oh, sorry. What? What are you doing? You want me to pick up my phone? Hello?
Hello, mate.
Oh, hi.
How you doing?
Well, I'm
You
alright.
well?
Bit weird, James. What's going on?
How's the family?
Everything is great.
Good.
Christmas, isn't it?
It's Antoine.
Oh, right.
Antoine Griezmann.
Hi. Oh.
Yeah. It's me. I'm speaking from last week.
Tricky week for you.
Yeah, I'm speaking from last week. I'm going to a fancy dress party.
Yeah.
Quick question.
Go on.
Do you think it's a good idea?
Yes.
For me to dress up as a basketball player, because it's dress up as your heroes or something like that.
Yeah,
that's fine, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's fine, is it?
No problem.
Great. All right. Cheers. Bye.
All right. Bye.
And that's probably what happened.
Yeah. Do you reckon? the moment of realisation when he posted it on Twitter, because it's not like that someone. It wasn't like a secret post, was it? It's one like one of his mates dobbed him in. It was he posted it on his own social media.
Yeah. So for anyone who doesn't know, that was a reconstruction of the phone call that Antoine Griezmann must have had with someone.
Yeah.
Because he went on last week to post a picture on Twitter
with himself blacked up.
With himself blacked up. Seems to be the phrase that people use.
So just in case anyone's confused, right? It's 2017. It's not okay for white people to black up under any circumstances, all right? So if you're confused about going to an office party or maybe a friend's party, if you're from the north, you might be more likely to do it. I've seen friends of mine who I've had to educate who are from the north, and they find it...
It's northern people.
In my experience, you're much more likely to come across someone blacked up from the north.
That feels like a generalisation in itself.
Look, no, well, I've never seen anyone do it in London, is all I'm saying.
Okay.
All right, so I think it's fair that I've reached that conclusion. But yeah, anyone have any ideas and then they can't understand the furore, you don't have to understand the furore, all right? You don't understand why it winds people up. You just have to understand that you shouldn't do it.
This podcast is called One for the Weekend, and that is one for the weekend. A bit of advice just to help you
get through
transition
without issue.
Yeah, exactly. So just to be clear, if you're thinking of doing that,
don't
give it a miss.
Don't do it.
Okay? But I'm guessing that's what Antoine Griezmann did. People don't know as well. He then went on to say, he got obviously a lot of abuse and then went, chill out. Chill out. I like basketball. People thinking that's why people are annoyed.
Yeah.
Hang on, you're a footballer. You can't dress up like that.
The thing is, it's weird. Isn't it? I don't know how much this is about being inside a bubble. Like you live inside a bubble that footballers do, and they don't really understand the real world. They can't do because it's bizarre that someone who's obviously in tune with what's going on in the world. It's not like he's not exposed to the world.
Yeah.
But they must live in such a bubble that under no circumstances at any point did he go, is this okay?
Nothing in his, you know, you have a kind of, it's cognitive dissonance, I think it's called, where you're kind of like, you're not sure
this doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Is this okay?
It's worrying.
Yeah.
It's worrying.
Yeah.
All right. Do you think, this just popped into my head, if you hit the big time now, for whatever reason became a rock star, superstar.
Yeah, it's likely.
With the understanding now of seeing so many people who are kind of famous and who are in a bubble, do you think you just go with the bubble?
Yeah. Yeah, probably great inside the bubble.
Yeah. It's probably brilliant, just completely believe their own hype. Because every person you ask, go, am I brilliant? They go, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Can I get a raise? Of course you can.
And to perform at that level, you have to know, you have to believe in yourself and think you're brilliant. It's like boxers that get in the ring. They're arrogant usually for a reason, because that arrogance carries them through into a situation that's potentially very dangerous. And if you second guess yourself, you're done in a boxing ring.
Sure.
You know, so we'll find out. So it's the same, you know, Antoine Griezmann can never second guess himself because he wouldn't be the footballer he is today. That said, he'd probably be more of a human being.
Very true. Because there are a lot of parties. I just thought that was a good thing to discuss, because a lot of people are going to have we've got our Christmas party coming up.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going to be going out, possibly fancy dressing. New Year's Eve's on its way.
Yes.
There are stumbling blocks.
Well, we've told them what to do and what not to do.
This is One for the Weekend, the podcast that gets you geared up for the football. We're going to be talking about Liverpool versus Arsenal, huge game. They've had some amazing games down the past, so we're going to talk about some of the greatest games in the Premier League, and we can have a chat with you guys in the comments if you fancy writing down the greatest game of football that you've ever seen. I think that would be wicked to talk about. We'll have a chat about last week. We'll have the mug roll call. We'll also talk about Rafa Benitez and David Moyes, who lock horns this week as Newcastle play West Ham, and lots more. A couple of soldiers lost in battle, and we'll talk about Margaret Dodds. Don't worry about it.
All right.
Let's kick off with the trivia. Last week we asked you this question. We said, who are the 3 outfield players to play every minute of the season for a Premier League title winning side? You did get a few, Flav, I think, at the time. But these are the correct answers. And well done to Jordan, LCFC, who got it correct. Azpilicueta, 2016-17. Wes Morgan, 2015-16. John Terry, 2014-15. And Gary Pallister.
What did he win?
In 1992-93. You win a pat on the back for yourself. Use your own hand, because I don't know where you live. This week, new trivia question. 6 players have won the Scottish Premier League and the English Premier League. Who are they? We had this in the office, didn't we?
Yes.
So do you know all of them?
I won't be able to remember. I'll tell you the 2 I got. I got Kanchelskis.
Kanchelskis is one.
And I got Roy Keane. And those are the only 2 I could get. So I gave up after that. But there were people in the office I don't...
Yeah. Our Scottish owner who supports Rangers, he
got there in the end.
He's in disarray for a little bit. This podcast is brought to you by Fan League. We're on iTunes. If you search Long Ball Street or One for the Weekend, then you will find the episodes. We've had some wicked episodes, wicked guests the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Steve O the Madman last week was class.
That's very funny.
Still, we need to get him back on again, I think. There's so much to talk about.
Yeah, tons.
And who did we have on before? What's his face? Howson. Not good name.
Steve Howson.
Steve Howson. Yeah, he was on as well. So loads of good episodes to catch up on. Lawrence McKenna, of course, as well. Fan League, right. Last week, we've gone down 14 places, which isn't
what?
Good. Which is weird because
we were up 5.
No, because I got mistaken with there's so many leagues now. There are so many leagues that we've somehow we've gone down. It's probably due to the fact that so many new people were playing the game. But this week there's 10k up for grabs if you get 13 out of 13.
Come on,
which is decent money. I won 80 quid last week.
Did you?
11 out of 13.
Wow.
Very happy with that. Somehow still went down one place in our league.
Well, I got 9 out of 13, which is
far better.
Come back from the 2 out of 10.
Exactly.
2 out of 13, Rob.
Mug roll call quickly. Let's have Flav down the barrel. Tom Mason, 7 out of 13, but went down 6 places.
Well, I mean, that's really... All right, Mug.
Jack Renshaw, 6 out of 13, he went down 6 places to 47th with an average of 5.25. Not good enough.
Mug.
And Andreas Niku, who's bottom of our league and killing our average because he didn't play last week.
Oh, mate, you're a mug.
So there you go. And the winner actually last week was Ben Holcroft. He got 10 out of 13. Sorry, actually he's the leader of our entire league because his average is better because he's played less games.
Okay.
Despite me beating him.
Yes.
Anyway,
doesn't matter. But you're a pundit.
I'm a connoisseur of the game.
If you download the app, you can see the 4 pundits.
Yeah.
You got Sven Dessa, Sven-Goran Eriksson.
Yeah.
You got Ian McIntosh, respected journalist, and you got James. And the gaffer.
Yeah, but so I did it right. 11 out of 13, pleased with that. But yeah, if you want to get involved, then you can do. As I said, 10k up for grabs. When you join the app, you get 2 free game credits, so you can play for free, and you can join our league. So add me as a friend, James Alcott, ALLCOTT, and I will invite you to the league, and you can help us get our average up.
Link is in the description below.
Link is in the description below. Let's talk about Arsenal versus Liverpool. Before we get into some of the greatest games, because the one that I wanted to talk about initially, and this is what kind of spawned this idea for this in the podcast this week, was that Liverpool-Arsenal game in 1989, last game of the season, which we'll get into. But let's preview the game. Let's preview Arsenal versus Liverpool first. 2 teams that... it's so hard to distinguish who's the best out of these guys. Obviously, we're going to find out at the end of the season. Who for your money is the better side, better first 11?
I mean, on paper, I would say Arsenal are the better first 11. I think they've got, I think defensively especially, they're much better in that department, and they can also score goals. Özil, Sanchez, Lacazette. If they're all on fire, you'd expect them to be, scoring bundles of goals. But going forward, Liverpool are the team, that are proving week in, week out that they can deliver. Salah has been.
That's incredible, isn't it? That story.
Is it though? Because he was great at Roma. He was great at Basel. He all he needs is a team to believe in him. And Fiorentina as well, he was fantastic in. Yeah. He's been great wherever he's gone, apart from Chelsea. And you could argue that he shouldn't have got into that team because they had such an amazing front three anyhow. Yeah. But, Liverpool's a perfect club for him because he's just going to be given the platform to play. They've been mooted about, a possible move to Real Madrid, that they're already interested. I would say to him, don't go. It's like, stay. You found your place where you can go and be springboarded now, and just wait and see. Play a few seasons at Anfield and see what happens. He's he's incredible.
I think the fact that he has scored 20 goals before Christmas, the last person to do that was Ian Rush, who is... He's top 5, isn't he? For Liverpool. In terms of the greats of Liverpool, he's right. He's right up there.
Yeah.
And he was an out-and-out striker. Like Salah's like, it is. A lot of people are comparing him to Ian Robin because he likes to cut in onto his left foot.
Yeah.
And people know he's going to do it as well. That's what's incredible.
But sometimes the players are so good, there's not much you can do about it. His pace is incredible. His eye for a goal. His ability to attack space. He's very, very exciting. And look, I think it's such an easy thing for people to say now. Like, oh, he's not a forward. He's not a front man. Sorry, he's not a number 9, so he's not leading the attack, so he shouldn't be scoring goals. Your job in that position is to score an assist, right? So if you're a top player at that level and you're not getting 20 goals as one of those front 3, then you're not doing your job properly. So he's there to score goals. 20 before Christmas is insane. Don't get me wrong, that's madness. But you know, that's what he's there supposed to be. So you can't. It's not like when in the old days of playing 4-4-2 and you score 20 goals from midfield when you're truly from midfield, i.e. you're box to box or a wide man. That was something special.
Yeah, true.
You know, so I mean, look, I'm not dismissing him in any case. He's doing what he's supposed to do and more.
And I think the biggest thing you can say about him is that with Liverpool, certainly the last 18 months, the two people we talk about is Sadio Mane and Phil Coutinho. No one's concentrating on them at all because you can't. You have to concentrate on this guy who's just doing so well. Going back to what you were saying a bit earlier about how well he did at Basel and at Rome and Fiorentina, sorry. And is that kind of... Are we not giving those leagues enough credence?
I think when you're a player, you get judged, certainly in England, by whether or not you can do it in the Premier League. And we've seen players come over, Shevchenko, Kesman, players that have done really well in other leagues, lesser leagues. And have struggled, and then you think, well, maybe you're not that good. And I mean, to say that Shevchenko was an absolutely incredible striker because he had a bad year at Chelsea is dismissive in the most extreme. But with Salah, you'd expect players that do well in Italy. You think, okay, can they step up to the Premier League? The Swiss league, again, it's a good platform.
Well, Basel have done a lot of good stuff in the Champions League as well. So for him to be the main man at a club like that means he must be okay. But I think he suits the Premier League so well, doesn't he, as well?
Yeah,
that's the thing.
I mean,
there's so much pace,
control, and his ability to follow instruction.
Very true. Liverpool have been undefeated in their last 9 games, but Arsenal, 73% of Arsenal's points have been won at home this season. So, and the other thing, the good stat with Liverpool is that they're the only team to win, I think it's either 3 or 4 games by more than 3 goals away from home. This season. So Liverpool are great away from home. Arsenal are great at home. Where do you see this game being won and lost?
I think it's about Liverpool's defence as ever, and whether or not he starts with Lacazette, Ozil and Sanchez, and will Sanchez be the player that he has been in previous seasons but not so far this season?
Yeah. If
those front 3 are playing well and Liverpool's front line are playing well, we're in for an absolute barnstormer of a game. I can't call it. Essentially.
I think it's going to be an abs. It is. That's again why we're going to talk about it in just a second, but why I'm kind of excited about this game, because there has to be goals.
Yeah.
There's bound to be goals.
But often that happens in football and then it turns out to be a stinker. But this game, the Arsenal versus Liverpool, Arsenal can't sit back against Liverpool and Liverpool can't sit back against Arsenal. So the only way Liverpool know how to play is attack.
Yeah.
It's quite hard to stunt that. It's quite hard to stop that Liverpool attack. Yeah. Spurs managed it at Wembley. We played very well that day, and we just sat back and countered. But I'm not sure the Arsenal fans would be patient enough to let Liverpool on. Maybe that is the way to play them.
Yeah, of course. First game of the season last year, they beat them quite convincingly. Was it 3-0?
I think it's 3-1.
3-1.
If I remember rightly, but
might be wrong there. 4-0 earlier in the season. They beat them. So I would put Liverpool as favourites for this one. The other reason I would put Liverpool as favourites, despite it being at the Emirates, is Sanchez. Only 4 goals this season, which obviously is nowhere near the return he had at this point last season. That's probably a big difference between these two teams. Obviously, they're still quite close in points, but the fact that Sanchez has not hit the heights this year after being so brilliant for them last year, Salah doing the opposite, that's going to play a part. Ian Wright has claimed that he's clocked off Sanchez. I know, I'm watching clips on Arsenal Fan TV, Robbie, who likes to be as neutral as possible, he says, oh, he's gone. He feels like... Do you think has Sanchez given up on Arsenal, or is this a really simple story for people to throw out there?
Okay. The boring answer would be he's out of form, and he's the likelihood is his head has been turned somewhat. Realistically, I think the frustrations with Sanchez had with Arsenal go way back before this year, where he's clocked off. I can't see a world where he signs a new contract at Arsenal, but this was the case a season ago. We saw him flip out. We saw him carry that Arsenal team at times last year. And he's probably, as a human being, he's just a bit fed up of doing it. That said, he's a professional. He should be doing his job properly. And if it is about his temperament and his unwillingness to work for the cause because he's got one foot out the door already, then it's an embarrassing situation for him. And if that is the case, and only Arsene Wenger would know really, because you'd be able to tell surely with a player that you've worked with over the last 4 or 5 years that they aren't trying. They'll have the metrics and the what do you call it, the stats and the analytics on him, on how well he's performing and how much he's running and his sprints and all that. You'll know from that, so then you don't keep playing him. I think, given the fact that they know all that stuff, that it isn't a case of him having one foot out the door. He's just a very good player, desperately out of form.
One thing I would say is that, and I'm sure I said this in the summer, is that it's human nature for him to get to October, Arsenal be in the situation that they're in, because I think there was also a huge possibility that it would get to December and they would be out of the title race, because for whatever reason, however good you want to say that squad is, it doesn't play that well. It's consistently not played well enough to get anywhere near a title race. Yeah. So naturally, even if there's a difference between playing at 100% and playing at 75%, you're still running around a lot. Yeah. The spark's not there, the desire's not there, that hunger to go that little bit extra is maybe not there for someone who's...
I think a lot of teams' failings have become evident and clear because Man City have been so good. Man City have exposed the entire Premier League, really, because they are so good and no one's been able to cope with them. And there's not much you can do about that. And when you're failing, when your club's failing, as everyone else has done, because we can't get anywhere near Man City because it's December and they've practically sewn the league up already. Yeah. You have to look at your own squad and say this is where are our issues. But I think really the issues are that we don't have, most clubs don't have the money available to them to compete on that level really. So everyone's going to look at their own squad and think, how can we be better this year? And that's a positive thing because it's going to make a more competitive league next year. But I don't think many teams are doing much wrong. I think Man City are just incredible. They're so good.
Okay, let's talk about some of the greatest games, because it did create this kind of road that I went down looking at old games in the Premier League, and this is one for the weekend. It's about being excited to go to the football, and the great thing about going to the football is you don't know what's going to happen. Even in those games, everyone's got a game, I'm sure. Let me know in the comments because I would enjoy reading them. A game where you go, there is no way we are getting anything from this game.
Oh, yeah.
And you've gone and done it. Or even with, a big bugbear of mine is leaving early. Even with 20 minutes to go, I was looking at great games for QPR in the Premier League, and we'll get on to the one that most people know about. But for me, the season we stayed up, we played Liverpool. We were 2-0 down, and I think it was 75 minutes gone. And that's a team with Suarez in it. We had Jamie Mackie up front. So there was a difference. There was a gulf in quality.
Yeah.
And somehow we won that game 3-2. And under the lights, it was amazing.
Yeah, I bet.
And that's why people should be excited about going to the football, even when it gets to become a bit of a slog, especially as we head to January, head to February. We're on our way to those games that mean absolutely everything.
And if you look at small clubs that are going to smaller clubs that are going to big games, the ones that are sold out are the games that are often hardest. Everyone wants to go Man United away because you might get that result, and if you do, it would be amazing. I think it was I mean, my example of that, what you just mentioned in terms of going to a game not expecting anything, would have been 2008 League Cup second leg against Arsenal. We'd drawn the first leg 1-1, and we had to, carrying the away goal in. We had to beat Arsenal, and we in that stage hadn't beaten them in years, like 22 out in something like that, something crazy. And I remember playing in my head Smith's. Please, Lord, let me get what I want this time. I was just like...
Oh, that's a great song, man.
Yeah. And I was just like, just please. Just if there is anyone up there, and I know you're probably busy saving people from being blown up and that, and so you should. There's no reason why you should be listening to me. But, the Bible does says you're omnipotent, so you probably should have time for me. I just need this result. I just need it. I need it. And from the first minute, we were in control. Jenas scored in the very first minute. We ended up winning 5-1, and we got everything we wanted. It was an incredible game of football.
So this one is 2-0, May 1989. For anyone who doesn't know about this, because obviously it was a while ago, it was chillingly simple. Nothing less than a 2-0 win at Anfield against the reigning champions would suffice for George Graham's title pretenders in the final game of the 1988-89 campaign.
Just to add further sort of context to that, Liverpool during this period were dominant in the most extreme. That no one could get near them in the 80s at all. And obviously there was this game in 1989.
And that's it. There's nothing else. 2-0 would do it. Alan Smith got a goal early in the second half, and it looked like that was it. It was kind of run out of steam. And I think it was John Barnes. Someone's going to definitely correct me. Someone gave the ball away and didn't need to in the last few minutes. And I think it was John Barnes. But anyway, and Steve McMahon, there's a shot of Steve McMahon going 1 minute. He's asked the ref 1 minute. They've just got to hang on. And somehow, I think Alan Smith with a flick on, and then Michael Thomas scores that goal.
He just the keeper come out and he just dinks over the keeper.
I cannot imagine how much he would explode in that game.
I mean, that's iconic in the same way that Aguero's goal against QPR was iconic. This was a moment where the entire season had worked towards this final game. Everything that happened, every goal that was scored, every one that was conceded, every performance, every last-ditch tackle had led to this moment.
Yeah.
And all Arsenal needed was a 2-0 win. I say all, it was a gargantuan task on that game. No one expected them to go to Anfield and win. And it was iconic. And I'm a Spurs fan, and I've got no time for it. I have no desire to watch it at all. I've seen it once, I think, in my entire life, and it's vividly imprinted on my brain.
Wow.
It's an incredible thing for football, but a terrible thing for me personally.
Fair enough. Liverpool actually been in some unbelievable games of football as well. Liverpool-Arsenal, there was the one after 20 seasons, they did a sort of a poll over the best games of the Premier League ever, and there's a few unbelievable Liverpool games and Arsenal games. Arsenal 4, Spurs 4 in 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
Who scored that? David Bentley didn't he score in that? Is that Danny Rose?
Bentley bent Bentley bent Lennon and Jenas.
So 4-4 in a derby. Liverpool Arsenal has been 4-4 in 2008, 2009 as well.
Is that when Arshavin scored 4 goals?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
incredible.
watching that. It was.
Newcastle Arsenal 4-4 in 2010, 2011. Yeah, and Liverpool, of course, that game, and it was 2 years on the trot. Liverpool versus Newcastle 4-3, the 95-96 one, which a lot of people obviously remember. Kevin Keegan, that was that was the moment. Collymore, yeah, unbelievable. That game, it was I think so. It went 1-0, 1-1, 2-1, 2-2, 3-2, 3-3. Then of course,
and whatever you say about these clubs, whether you like Arsenal or like Liverpool or not, not my two favourite teams, but you have to respect the fact that they've always played attacking, exciting football. Certainly under Wenger, Arsenal had a period of playing very boring football, and I won't get into that. The fact is that since the Premier League more or less formed under Wenger, Arsenal played exciting, attacking football, as have Liverpool under various guises and various managers. It's always going to be a great game, and going into it, like I say, I don't know. It's one you'd have to hedge on the fan league.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I think you would. I asked Flav to pick a game that what is the most ridiculous game of football, Premier League football, that he's watched with Spurs, and he went for a Wigan home win, which doesn't sound exciting, but
well, Spurs scored 9. We won. We scored 9-1, and Jermaine Defoe scored 5. It was literally like every single time we went forward, we scored. It was bizarre. It was like an exhibition match. Also, notable mention.
1-0 at half time.
2-1 half time.
I'm sure it says here. No, Crouch scored after 9 minutes. It says here.
Oh, it's 1-0.
Yeah, and it was 1-0 after time.
I didn't really. No, I don't remember.
Absolutely. So Defoe 51, 54, 58. And then he scored 69, 87 as well, and then just a couple of
notable mentions that when we turned around 1-0 deficit to Man City, and we scored 3 goals in 4 minutes. There's nothing better than scoring 3 goals in quick succession. And especially because Man City fans were giving it when we was in the stadium. And the other one would have been being 3-0 up against Manchester City. Joe Barton sent off at half time, and we somehow lost 4-3.
Mackham, wasn't it?
That's right.
But my choice is Man City 3, QPR 2. Which I shouldn't be picking a game that we've lost really, but that I'm going to struggle to ever trump that game in terms of going to a game that, for the wider context, I think I kind of missed out a little bit because a lot of people would have been watching it on telly and were able to kind of flick between the two and got that kind of real understanding of what was going on in the context and the fact that United had won and that was done and that Man City were
Man United won the league. All they needed is for QPR to hold on to that 2-2 win, 2-2 draw, and the Premier League trophy was going to Man United. The helicopter was already on its way to Old Trafford.
And what's incredible about that, not incredible, but it's what's different for me and unique for me in comparison to everyone else, is that everyone else was kind of generally watching it as a neutral, going, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. Obviously, apart from Man City and Man United fans.
Yeah.
But for me, and I'm sure for Bolton fans, I was watching that game and it was torture. It was absolute torture. We were defending for our lives in the first half of the game. We basically had Zamora and Cisse up front, but they were playing in centre midfield. That's how deep we were.
Yeah.
They got 1 goal. They looked pretty comfortable. We had probably about 2 attacks. Paddy Kenny had the game of his life, and it looked like we might have done it. Then Joey Barton gets sent off, and the hatred towards him from me in terms of ruining the season by doing what he did.
Yeah.
Then we went 2-1 up. and I'll never forget watching the ball go down the left-hand side. And I looked, as Traore was running down, I looked and I saw Mackie, and I was like, it's like slow crawl through it. And he just put this lofted cross up, and from nowhere there's Mackie.
Was just
he just headed it down, didn't he? He headed it down because he's obviously God, don't screw this up.
Yeah.
And it's gone in, and we were so close. And the other weird thing is, I was glad that we lost the game, but I missed the last goal.
Because the Aguero goal?
Because I was on the phone. I wasn't really concentrating on the goal because I was on the phone to my mate Craig, who's a Stoke City fan, who, unlike anyone else in the world who was concentrating on Man City and Man United, he cared about the meaningless game for Stoke City against Bolton, and they were able to get a draw. I think it was 2-2. And so I'm calling him and going, is it over? Is it over? Is it over? And then I kind of just looked up, and then we saw them score, saw everyone go crazy. The most unique thing about the entire thing, and my dad said this to me, and he's watched football for since he was 8 or whatever, so well over 50 years. He said, I've never left a game where everyone is so happy. We'd stayed up. They'd won the league. Yeah. That doesn't happen. No. You're not both jubilant.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
So sorry. I had to go into that for a second.
No, I mean, it was incredible.
But yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of football, and that's a good thing about everyone this weekend. If you're going to a game, if you're watching a game, then you've got that can always happen. You never know. Margaret Dodds. She's a centenarian. She's a Bristol City fan. She's been watching Bristol City.
I know. I saw that news
40
story.
years. Yeah, which I just thought was just a lovely story.
Yeah.
So, we talk about going to the football. Again, it's called One for the Weekend. People, making their way. She's from Weston-super-Mare. She's a Robins fan for 40 years.
Yeah, bless her.
It's lovely, mate. It's lovely. Started going in the 1970s. And how do you feel about the thought of watching your team for the next 50 years? That's what I thought. I was like, poor.
Oh god, yeah.
Do you think you'll just give up at some stage?
Over decades, you're thinking I'm going to feel a lot of pain during that time. No, I'll never ever give up watching Spurs. You know, I'll always be a Spurs fan my entire life. My dad's still there, and he's nearly 70. You know what I mean? So if he's still there, I'm going to be.
I think my dad's more into it now than he was.
Really?
He's certainly more intense now than he was when we first started watching, I think.
Yeah, it's more intense. Does the results affect him still badly? Because I've managed to find...
No, maybe not.
Yeah.
But so the game...
I think the older you get and the more mature you get, you can deal with results. Like losing your shit because your team lost a game of football or drawn one shows massive levels of immaturity. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's amazing that she's still going to the football, and I hope she enjoys it for many years to come.
Bristol City got... Dodds.
Margaret Dodds, yeah. Bristol City got QPR this weekend, so one thing we'll say. Well, if I do see her...
What?
Nah.
What do you mean?
I'm just saying, don't find me. I won't find you, Margaret. Don't step on my turf, Margaret. You can stay at Ashton Gate, that's your home.
What?
That's all I'm saying, fam.
No, right.
I'm just saying, I better not see her... Giving it at Loftus Road, or there'll be let's say there'll be trouble.
What are you saying that?
Let's say there'll be trouble, Flav.
If Margaret Dodds comes down giving it the big one.
Let's say she's just
been
no tweeting, no beef.
Forewarned.
She's been Margaret Dodds. Margaret Dodds.
Bless her.
That's such a lovely name. If you're watching this, just you know,
wind your neck in, Margaret.
Wind your neck in, love. Alright, all the press.
I like that. I've never seen that side of you before.
Oh well, it's there.
We're willing to.
It's there. If I don't come in the fight, if I don't come in, I'll do it. West Ham versus Newcastle this weekend as well.
David Moyes.
Come on, boys.
David Moyes, everybody. Round of applause. Just Arsenal. Just because there's loads. But David Moyes, I mean, come on, he deserves credit, doesn't he? He does it. That is free.
You're such a hypocrite.
I know. Look. I thought they were going down, and that shows you how little people know.
They still might do, you know.
No, but they may do. But he is. They haven't conceded a goal. So they lost. They lost
4-0 to Everton, didn't they? And then they lost to Man City 2-1.
But 2-1. But that was quite a close game, and and that was at Etihad as well, wasn't it? So you saw Spurs get spanked there. You know, West Ham tight defensively, and the first thing Moyes has done is gone in there and go, look, let's tie up at the back. Let's tie up there.
Guys, let's stop shipping goals.
Shipping goals. He's just tighten up at the back, and actually they've got quality footballers in their front line. You know, Lanzini, Arnautovic, who's actually been leading the line, playing a number 9 or a false 9, and actually has been running his arse off. It's not something you'd expect him to see. Certainly not something he'd done at Stoke. I think he was resting on his laurels somewhere, and Moyes has come in and gone, look, mate, you want to stick around, you've got to start running, boy.
Yeah.
And that's what he's done. Like against Arsenal at home, and the 0-0 draw with them, he just ran it. He ran the channels. He was chasing players down. You could see he believed in it, and they've somehow David Moyes has gone into West Ham and he's galvanised them. Something he's never done.
The juice as well. You tried the Kool-Aid.
Mate, look, I'm just happy for him because we laughed. We laughed at him.
You laughed at him.
I laughed at him.
I wanted to give him a chance.
And I'm willing to hold my hands up and say I was wrong. I'm a dick. And God bless David Moyes, because if you're a West Ham fan, you must have been worried. Yeah. You must have been worried. And you know what? He's come in and he's done a good job. And the amount of stick he's got, you know, I was like, just go. Leave football. Do everyone a favour. And
I think it may have even been on this podcast. You sort of had a bit of a rant. Just leave us alone.
Just leave us alone, mate. We've had enough of you. Get out of our lives.
Yeah.
But he's turned it around, and you know what? I like being wrong because, I just feel sorry for him now.
Do you?
No, I did.
He's riding the wave. Moyes said this: "I think I'm capable of doing the job at any club in the world, so I'm sure I can do it at West Ham."
But is he? What is he?
Would you agree with that?
If you was a West Ham fan, would you be happy with that statement?
I guess it depends on the context.
Well, is he saying that this is a tip? Is he saying that this is compared to most clubs, West Ham have it good, and that there's money and good players there, or is he saying West Ham are shit?
Yeah.
And it doesn't. It's not a bigger task as being at Real Madrid. I can't quite tell.
I didn't initially think about it like that, but he is essentially saying this is a dump.
Yeah.
This is a dump, and I can do it at great clubs like Everton and Man United. And not my words, his words.
Yeah. I don't
between the
know. I
lines.
don't know. Any West Ham fans this year? Are you
happy with that quote?
How do you take that quote?
So yeah, he's saying he could do it at any club. Do you agree with that? Do you think there are certain managers that only suit certain clubs?
I don't agree that David Moyes could do it at any club. I think he's proven that he can't. He's got you had Man United. He had everything you need.
Could anyone have proved that they could have replacing Fergie? If Mourinho had come in straight after Fergie, would he have succeeded?
Yes.
Do you think?
Yeah, I do think
maybe.
so. Yeah, I think he would have done. I think. Look, he had. The team that Fergie left him wasn't the greatest. You know, he'd put all his eggs in that last basket. That's a salmon, isn't it?
It's close.
Yeah, he put all these eggs in that basket. Ferguson, knowing full well that there would be a massive rebuilding job needed. He's a bit harsh on Moyes, but look, No,
he didn't. You think Fergie thought Fergie was going to sabotage Man United?
No, I just think he knew that he needed to win. He wanted that last season to be to be a trophy winning season.
Oh, sorry.
And he didn't have the probably just the interest in the game or the drive to do it again. It's to rebuild Man United once again, because every team needs to be rebuilt every night. You can't have, this Man City team won't be the one that wins the league in 6 years' time if they do that. So you need to constantly be refreshing. But there were so many players getting older in that Man United team that I think it was difficult for Moyes. That said, it's not as difficult as the West Ham job and making sure that they kind of eventually qualify for Europe if that's what they want to do.
I still feel sorry for David Moyes with the Man United job, because I feel like people were ready to go. They were that's the clear. It's like Ranieri for me a little bit. Like the story was there, like to go.
They've done it.
As soon as you lose, go, oh God, look, are they? Because the best story is them going off a cliff. So the side that you sit on every story when they lose or win, when they win, they kind of go, well, that's boring that they've won, so let's not talk about that. When they lose, let's make it a big deal. And I think that definitely took control after a while.
Yeah.
The bottom line is he did. Rafa Benitez for Newcastle, they love him. Newcastle fans absolutely love him.
Yeah.
That said, 8 defeats in 9.
Not good enough.
But there's so much patience with him.
I think because they realise they're not going to get a manager as good as him. I think he's done very good work throughout his career. Maybe, arguably, Inter Milan should have done a lot more, but it was the same situation with Moyes. They just won the Champions League with Mourinho, and then he took over this squad who, like you said, they topped the mountain and now they're on the way back down. They're on to new pastures or they didn't have the drive to do it all over again. But by and large, Rafa Benitez has done a good job wherever he's gone. He was the last manager in Spain to win it outside of El Clasico. He did that with Valencia, I think. So he's always done amazing things throughout his career. I think Newcastle's squad is a championship squad. They didn't strengthen properly. They've been there isn't a situation there where Ashley was always going to spend money. He wanted to get money out of it. They're now in a situation where they've just been bought out by this.
Amanda Stavely. Has that happened?
I think they agreed a fee of 300 million. Yeah, so it's just a case of, look, he's given money to spend. He'll do a good job. Like if they sack him now, what do they do? Where do they go? It's not they're doing the right thing, and it's actually quite refreshing that Newcastle fans haven't. I mean, sure, some are questioning him, but by and large, you don't hear much out of Newcastle fans.
I feel like the excuses are he's getting a tiny bit lucky with this, just because. That is an awful run. That is an awful run.
Terrible run.
And Brighton, is that a championship squad then?
Yes.
And Huddersfield, is that a championship squad?
Yeah. Yeah, by and large.
Whereas Newcastle spent, although they got rid of a couple of guys,
yes,
the most expensive ones, they spent a hell of a lot of money in the championship. I think most people said they were guaranteed to go up because it wasn't a championship squad. So hang on.
True, but it's so important to be able to work in an atmosphere that's supportive and pulling in the same direction. Your club works because the chairman and the board are pulling in the correct direction, so same direction as the manager. He's in a situation where he probably full well knows that Ashley's on his way out, wants to sell. He's working within the financial constraints that means, because Ashley's never going to spend money knowing full well he wants to sell.
Yeah.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
So you understand that. So he's in this situation where he's doing the best he can. He obviously has an affinity with the Newcastle fans. He's never left a job quickly before. Before he was ready.
And he's stable and going down. I think that's to be applauded, and maybe that's why he probably deserves that patience.
Yeah, and I think, look, if at the end of the season, after strengthening in July, and I'm sure he'd be given funds, because there's no way this new company coming in is going to want to take or see Newcastle go down. They're going to have to spend. You know, and look, even if I'd say like, Newcastle went down, you know, you'd probably want him to stay on and see what he could do under these new owners. But I doubt if they come near the relegation zone towards the end of the season with 10 games to go and they're still struggling, they may be reactionary and get rid of him. But I think I'd be interested to know what Newcastle fans are thinking here, because how long do you give him? And would you be willing to go down the season again? Look, they're used to going down to the Championship. It's not a big deal.
They always go back up,
and they always come back.
The one thing that would be an absolute disaster for them is if, or for the new owners, they come in, they've got January to make a decision here. Do we throw a load of money at it to make sure that they're okay? But this is the Premier League, like shit happens. So they could throw a load of money at it, and those signings not work out, and they could still go down.
Yeah.
That would be an absolute disaster for them. Right, Soldiers Lost in Battle time. Just to say, we've run out of Soldiers Lost in Battle, so I've had to look for some of the saddest stories in the world of football this week.
All right, so look, people listening, see, everyone loves it, but no one wants to put the work in. How are we going to do a Soldiers Lost in Battle if none of you soldiers are letting us know your stories?
True.
Let us know, or it stops.
Yeah, well, no, it literally does stop.
Yeah,
because I found some. There's only so many sad stories out there. So if there'll be another podcast going out soon. We're gonna have a break there. So you've got your time. Get in the comments right now. Get your Soldiers Lost in Battle stories, the saddest stories that you can find in football.
Yeah.
And we'll read them out and discuss them.
Just your own experiences. One of the times where you have been able to watch them. This is the intro bit. So go on, start playing the music. Right.
Okay.
When in your life have you ever been able to or been stopped from going from football by someone who was supposed to care about you, all right, or some sort of situation that stopped you going from watching the team you love? It could be a good result or a bad result. It doesn't matter what it is. When have you not been able to go and watch the team that you love because some other person has got in your way? That's what I want to know. Tell us the stories. Put them in the comments as quickly as possible. Otherwise, this section stops and never comes back ever again. So sort your lives out.
This is more sort of excuses from the world of football this week. Just so. The Gypsies curse at Birmingham. The reason behind Birmingham's failure to reach the top flight was down to the reputed gypsy curse, a problem manager Barry Fry tried to eradicate by famously urinating on all four corners of the St Andrews pitch. He said, "We went 3 months without winning. We were desperate, so I pissed in all four corners, holding it in while I waddled around the pitch." He said, "Did it work? Well, we started to win and I thought it had. Then they fucking sacked me, so probably not." The ghost of Lord Nelson. Poor Blackpool. They let a 2-goal lead slip in a playoff match with Bradford City in 1996. Hang on, let me say that. Blackpool let a 2-goal lead slip in a playoff match against Bradford City in 1996. On the team's boardroom being haunted by the ghost of Lord Nelson. Oh. That's not called Lord. How's it work? Is that it? No. Right. And papering over the cracks. Newcastle once had a run of bad form towards the end of 2013-14 season under Alan Pardew. And he explained that the reason for this was that I don't actually think the local media in the North East helped us this week. They whipped it up for whatever reason. I know 1 or 2 have been banned from the stadium and they probably used that as a bit of an agenda, which is a bit of a shame for us, because we want them to support us. It's Pardew, it's the media, the North East media, ruining it for poor Alan Pardew, one of the bastions of football.
Is he? I think the problem is that they're with Pardew is why should they? They're news reporters. They're not like propaganda merchants for the club.
And final one this week. Poor Colo Torre, who got a 6-month ban for failing a drugs test because of his wife's diet pills. It wasn't his fault.
Is that fact?
I mean, that's what he said, wasn't it? Seems a bit dodgy, doesn't it? Does seem a little bit dodgy. So that was a makeshift Soldiers Lost in Battle. We do like read them out, so let us know. You got a couple of weeks to get some written down, and if you do, then we will read out the best ones.
Yep.
Final thing to finish off on this week's One for the Weekend podcast is Those Were the Days.
Ah.
Yeah,
those were the days.
About that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Save that to the end. Yeah. If you've got Those Were the Days, so things that you miss about football, just little things, tiny things. We'll have a few examples in just a second. Then let us know in the comments. Once again, we will read out the best ones next week, and we've got one from someone this week. So first up, Flav, taking you down memory lane.
Yeah.
Faustino Esprilia's legs.
Oh wow, rubbery.
Beautiful times.
Yeah,
beautiful times.
He was incredible. He was incredible, that guy. I mean, he was. Claudio Canigia's hair.
Don't know what?
Yeah, just terracing at football. You can understand.
I've got one for us, don't
Go on.
It's not all on you. CFAX. Do you know CFAX?
The extension of that, club call.
Nice.
So just for younger listeners and viewers, club call was CFAX. In fact, was like a sort of teletext. Was a service that you could click if you.
It was like the internet, but on your television.
But it was basic
before the internet.
Like Google what CFAX looked like, and then there would always this club call where, like, if you wanted transfer rumours, this was the place to go. You'd ring them up, and it would charge you about £1 a minute more. And that was a lot of money then. That was like £5 a minute, and then they would tell you information about a star-studded striker heading to White Hart Lane. No one ever come. It was all bollocks. It's exactly what transfer tittle is today, but it exists back in the 1980s.
What was mad about club call as well is that it was from the club, so they're giving you the transfer rumours that aren't going to be real.
Yeah, weird.
So last two strikers who used to play centre back as well.
Paul Warhurst.
You had Dion Dublin.
Chris Sutton.
Chris Sutton did it as well. I think Ian Marshall liked it now and again.
Yeah, Paul Warhurst. I think Dowie did it a couple of times. It might be wrong.
Maybe makeshift. Yeah. And the last
Gary
one.
Doherty.
Very good. Gary Doherty did do it.
Yeah,
That's
he
true.
was pwned.
And finally, Dan Fraser, who wrote this in the comments last week, which I quite liked and very relevant to the current climate of football. Middlesbrough beating Man City 8-1. Last game of the season.
I don't even remember that.
Last game of the season, quite a while ago. I think it might have been 2000. I want to say 2006. And I've got a little story about this. It's quite good. So we had our fantasy football league, and we had it was all going down to the last weekend. And my mate Craig from the Great Touch for a Big Lad podcast, go download it. He was winning, and going into the last week.
Yeah.
But he made Richard Dunn his captain.
Oh.
Against Middlesbrough. They lost 8-1.
Yes.
And he got sent off. Which made him finish like fourth, so he missed out on a decent bit of money.
Beautiful.
So that was those were the days. Let us know yours in the comments below, and that is one for the weekend, Flav.
Absolutely sterling work, James.
Thanks, mate. Enjoyed that. Yeah. Margaret, you've been warned.
You have been warned, Margaret. Wind your neck in.
Download
God bless her. She seems like a lovely, lovely lady.
Yeah. I'm sure she's really into podcasts. Yeah. This podcast is brought to you by Fan League, so download the Fan League app. Join us on the One for the Weekend League. Search my name, James Alcott, after you've downloaded it. Link is in the description, and then I will add you to the One for the Weekend League. We need you to help us get up that table, so come and get involved. 10k up for grabs, and you don't even have to pay if you're playing for the first time. So do that, okay?
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah. If you're listening to it on the podcast, go to the Fan League app. I'm messing this up completely. Right? iTunes, Apple, the podcast, Apple Store, iStore, App Store.
What is it?
It's an App Store, isn't it?
App Store. Jesus.
Is it? Alright, App Store, and then just type in Fan League one word and you get it, don't you?
Perfect.
Lovely.
Seamless.
Lovely.
We will see you next week for another One for the Weekend. Subscribe to Ball Street. Is that an emoji?
Yeah,
he's put the hand emojis up. Very nice, very good.
I like that one.
Nice one.
How are you feeling today? Well, how long did it be till we start communicating in that fashion?
About 4 years.
Yeah.
Okay, people can't see that or hear that. Right. Anyway, right, that's it. See you later. Bye.
Download the app and join today.